The ultimate irony that it's sunny 310 days a year in Flagstaff, and the day we turn on our photovoltaic solar system is complete overcast. It's just, of course it is. All right, welcome back everybody. So I'm pretty excited to share a little insight into my personal life with you all. I know that sounds very revealing, but stay with me here. The last few days have actually been really exciting at my house. For those of you that don't know or haven't picked up on it on the rest of my videos, I teach here at a local university in Flagstaff. My specialty, my area of research is actually studying ice sheets and ice cores, but within the context a lot of times of climate change. So I look at past climates in ice core records, and I look at how ice sheets have changed, et cetera, et cetera. All that is to say that I'm a pretty climate conscious person. I'm trying to be very aware of my carbon emissions, and I ride my bike into work. I ride the scooter when I can because it gets way better gas mileage. We're thinking about getting an electric car. We're very careful when we sort our recycling. All these things that are important, things that we should all be thinking about. I take very short showers and conserve water, and right. So, but on top of that, there's an interesting new development that has happened over the last 6 months here at my house that just in the last week has finally become a reality, and it's very exciting. So I'm gonna walk out front and I'm gonna show you what it is that I'm talking about. So let's go out front. So this is what I'm excited about. About 6 months ago, we started looking into putting solar panels on our roof here in Flagstaff. We get about 310 days of sunshine a year. It's almost always sunny, and so why not tap into that amazing resource? So we scoped out a few local companies and decided on one of the companies and went ahead and signed a contract, but it took many weeks to get all the permits and the city regulations to be approved and the power company to sign off on it, et cetera, et cetera. We had to have bunch of people inspect our roof and go into our attic space and such like that. But eventually the panels got installed and they were on our roof for probably about 2 weeks, all tapped in, but we weren't allowed to flip the switch until they got the final okay from the city and from the power company. So the city said that everything looks great, and then the power company finally got back to us, came out, put in their secondary meter, and we were basically set up to go. And a few days ago we turned it all on. So I'm going to walk you over to the power switch, and I'm going to actually show you what it is that happened and how it's functioning. So what you're looking at here are all of the power components related to my house. So this was my original breaker. If I go in here, you can see it's got all the original breakers in it, but this one down here is the new one, and this is the one that's tied in to the photovoltaic system. So they installed this as a new breaker to the main house panel, and then all of this over here was added. So this is the main switch in order to allow power from the panels to come through into the main breaker. This is now the meter that monitors just the production from the panels, and this is the solar combiner. So this is what's actually taking all of the individual panels and combining them here before it actually distributes the power both into the house and then back onto the grid. So if you look in here, this is very modern. It's basically just a couple more switches, and then it's got some empty slots if we ever wanted to add more panels. And then all this up here is the digital component. So this actually taps into the Wi-Fi of our house so that I can open an app on my phone and see exactly how much power our panels are producing. It's like really dorky, nerdy. You can watch exactly how much power you're producing and what you're using and like how much you're selling back to the grid, et cetera, et cetera. So, and this meter here shows, you can kind of see there's arrows going in both ways. The arrow going this way means right now I'm selling power back to the power company, because right now it's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it's sunny out, and I've got nothing running inside. There's, maybe my refrigerator or whatever. So we're actually giving power back to the grid. So, very exciting. 3 days ago, I flipped those breakers. I popped this power switch on, and I flipped on all of the components here. And just like that, we were bringing power in from our panels, sort of. The ultimate irony that it's sunny, 310 days a year in Flagstaff, and the day we turn on our photovoltaic solar system is complete overcast. Of course it is. With me showing you all that, I want to show you what the data look like so you can get a sense of, like, if you want to do this to your own home, there's two really important things that you need to know. One is it's way cheaper than I was expecting it to be. I always imagined getting solar panels on a house would be thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, upwards of like $50,000 or something. So it always just seemed like a pipe dream. But with all of the federal and state incentives that are going on, and with how competitive it's become, especially in places like Arizona, you can actually get solar panels for less than $10,000 now, once you get all of your tax rebates back. So you still have to pay probably about $15,000 up front, but once you file your taxes and you claim all those credits, you get about $5,000 of that back. So in the end, it only comes out to be about $10,000, at least for our array, which was 13 panels and about 4.3 kilowatt hours of peak power. So, it's not bad. Our array was built so much bigger than what we use on purpose. We do not use nowhere near the power that we're now producing. So two things are happening. One, all excess power we sell back to the power company here in Arizona, and they buy it back just because we just don't use that much power. We use maybe 300 kilowatt hours a month, so maybe about 10 kilowatt hours a day, and already today we've produced 24 kilowatt hours of power, so like more than twice what we use. I am using my own power, first of all, so anything that I'm generating, if I turn on an appliance during the day, it is going to pull from the panels first, all that it can, and if there's still excess, that's what it sends back to the grid. So we're not just like constantly buying from the grid and then selling back at a cheaper rate. It doesn't work like that. So it really is worth it. And if you do the math here in Arizona, where you get 300 plus days a year of sunshine, the payback period for our panels is only 6 years. So as long as we live in this house for 6 years and we continue to do what we're doing, it pays for itself in 6 years. So it's just fantastic. And the panels are warranted for 35 years or something ridiculous. And we just got a new roof a few years ago, so we don't have to worry about taking them off to put up on a new roof or anything like that. So it was an ideal situation, and I highly recommend it, because if you're a numbers geek like me, I literally watch the app like all the time to see like how much we're producing. And it's kind of like a fun game, like, oh, we're producing just enough now, or if I turn on the dryer, it won't hit the power company. It will be able to produce enough to actually run the dryer internally. So it becomes like kind of a fun game. Plus you just know that you are in some small way contributing to reducing coal or natural gas usage. You're reducing the power that's being needed from the burning of fossil fuels. There is a problem that has arisen due to the large influx of solar on all these power grids, and that is something called the duck curve. So if you want to look that up, you can. But essentially what's happening is so many people are producing power in the middle of the day that there's this huge glut of power. There's all this extra power that's not needed because everybody's kind of just not using a ton of power at their houses during the day. I mean, the industry is still using power and everything, so there's still a need. But the hugest spike in power everywhere, every day, is in the sort of 4 to 6 p.m. block, right as the sun is setting. So what happens is there's all this excess power during the day, and right as everybody's panels stop producing, everyone comes home from work and everybody turns on all their appliances, and boom, the need spikes, and there's not enough production being made from the panels. So you get this massive steep slope as far as how much the power is needed, and that increase, that steep increase in power demand means that we have to basically fire up all these on-demand power plants and blast all the natural gas plants up to max just to meet that daily need. And the reason it's called the duck curve is because if you look at the daily plot of the power demand curve, it looks like a duck. And so that issue needs to be solved. And personally, I think the way that we solve that issue is moving forward, people start putting storage in their houses. Once storage is at the point where it's truly viable. Right now, we're not quite there for home storage, but once battery technology improves enough where you can have home storage technology, you could produce solar all day, charge up your home storage batteries, and then at night, when you do come home and you put on all your appliances and you fire up the dryer and the electric range or whatever, you're just pulling from your storage batteries, and then next day when you're at work, they're charging the batteries back up. Your panels are charging things back up again. So ideally, that would eliminate the issue of the duck curve if we could just really, really figure out storage and not just rely on all this lithium that we're trying to mine from a lot of places that has its downsides as well. So anyway, that's my little science geek out. But with that all said, the one other thing that I was going to say is we are now producing enough power, excess power, that we've done the math and we could actually buy an electric car, a small one like a Chevy Bolt or something, and charge it during the day. Definitely charge it during the day and not need power from the power company. But we could also charge it during night, during off-peak hours, using power from the power company, but still break even with what we're selling back to the power company the next day. So ideally, we would love to switch all our appliances to electric and all of our vehicles to electric, and then we just are off the grid, baby. We're just producing our own power. Someday when we can get viable storage, maybe we will be able to cut that cord. So one step at a time. But as you can tell, I get really excited about this, and I cannot recommend it enough. And even if you live in a place that's not as sunny as here, I think the pros outweigh the cons. And even if your buyback period is 10 or 15 years, it's worth it. And it's very satisfying. It's a good feeling. Like all day today, I was just out and about, and I just kept thinking in my mind, my house is sitting there at home, making me money, just chugging away, producing power. And we didn't have a cloud in the sky today, and it just cranked. It cranked out like 25 kilowatt hours. And other than the few appliances running in the background, vampire things just kind of sucking a little bit of power, I'd say 90% of that went back to the power company. So it's pretty cool. And so that's my little geek out for the day. Think about how much what you're doing in your daily lives and how much that is directly related to your emissions, like what you're doing, how much you're driving. Are you driving a car that gets 12 miles to the gallon? Do you need to? Maybe it's time to upgrade to something that gets a little better gas mileage. Maybe you can bike into work. Maybe you can take the bus into work. Maybe you can work from home more, right? Maybe you can take shorter showers or compost or put solar panels on your roof, or there's so many ways that you can reduce, change out your light bulbs to LEDs, even though that's, it's not a ton. It makes a difference. Every little thing makes a difference. So just recycle what you can, make an effort, and reuse bags at the grocery store, do all that stuff. I know it sounds cheesy, but it's every little thing is going to make a difference. If COVID taught us anything, it should have scared us all a little, because for an entire year, 90% of the country wasn't traveling either by car or by plane. And yet, despite that huge reduction in travel, it barely made a blip in the global CO2 levels, like barely nothing at all. I mean, the global levels dropped maybe a few parts per million and then immediately went right back up and are already over 415 parts per million. So it's like, even with all that travel reduction, it barely made a dent. So this is why it really matters that we all do stuff. We all make an effort. As cliche as that sounds, I mean, it's got to happen. And if you really want to scare yourself, the IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, just released the new assessment AR6 on Monday, and it's profound. and sobering, to say the least. The verbiage they use in this assessment is very distinct from the previous iteration. Things like unequivocal and virtually certain, terms like this, okay? So we are well beyond the research phase of maybe let's see if it's happening, let's see why it's happening. We are well past that now to the almost doomsday phase of holy crap, we're in real trouble. We need to get our stuff together fast, globally, and this isn't like an ozone fix where we can just ban a few things and call it a day. This is going to take a global scale effort like nothing in the history of humankind. So we better start working on it though, because we are going to blow well past 2 degrees, if not 4 degrees increase, and that is not good. It's going to be unlivable in many parts of the world, and there's going to be water shortages, and you name it, it's going to come. So hopefully that didn't depress you too much, but that's why putting panels on your roof is one small step, and why being careful of what you waste and what you use and how many miles you drive in your gas car, and even if it's switching to a motorcycle or a moped or a scooter or a Brompton, which I've been using to commute every day. I mean, it all makes a difference. So, all right, that's it. Take care, be safe, and I will see you in hopefully a more uplifting video. See y'all.